Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your pre-game ITFC Matchday live show. I'm, of course, your host, the Govern. Do not forget to hit the subscribe button, but hit the like button, the thumbs up button, whichever platform you're watching us on. It's either like or thumbs up. Make sure you smash it this evening. Every thumbs up, every like is a prayer for a town win as we travel to take on Port Vale. The title of the show: Can Ipswich do it on a wet night in Stoke? And as always, we'll be joining you through the course of the evening. This is your pre-game show where we have a look at the team news, get the feeling, get the gauge of how we're all sort of, feeling ahead of an away day, what we think of the team. And then the moment the full-time whistle goes, it is time for your ITFC live fan reaction, where we react to what we have just seen, which hopefully turns itself into a 90-minute firework of a display where Town win. To be fair, I'd probably take a 1-0, if I'm honest. Just because it's 3 points in the bank. And as always, it's a live platform to have your say. You can do so in the pre-game show via the live chat, and at post-game, you can do it by the live chat or by appearing on the show. So Jack is in the room. Welcome in, Jack. Rose Smith, happy with the team. Pitch looks okay. Wishing for all away fans tonight. We've got Rob Smith putting the team. I've got the graphic coming up just shortly. Hello, good afternoon. Work from Latterworth. Paul P in the room. Lloyd in the room. Harps. I really like the team. And he's glad Edwards is starting. Not concerned about the quality in the middle. Adrian, tough game. Let's come home with 3 points. Norman, evening, Gubbo. Feeling Chapman's going to have a good time tonight. Absolutely. Woody, come on, you Blues. And George, you've gone for a 2-0 Town win. Let's kick things off by bringing in the man who's here on a Tuesday night. And he's showing off another shirt in his collection. The aficionado, Stephen Thompson. Stephen, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm very well. How are you?
I am very well. So, which shirt are we showing off this evening then?
It's one of my all-time favourites. It's the 17-18 home shirt.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Good memories of that particular year. Not the best season, obviously, in terms of town, but it was a good year for sort of personal things. So this shirt has always held quite highly.
Quite high regard in your closet of town shirts.
And we had some good players that year as well.
Who was your favourite that year? Who was your favourite from that sort of era?
It's got to be Waghorn from that year for me. Bit of
Martin Waghorn, yes, Martin Waghorn, great first name, great player. What more could we possibly want? But times have changed. We are here in the present. Town on a good run of form. If you don't count the Lincoln game as a blip. Before we get into the score and the team, how are you feeling tonight? You feeling confident despite no Morsey, no Evans? You're still confident? You're still thinking this should be an away win?
Yeah, I'm still feeling confident about it. Obviously, looking at the squad, and I think that's probably the best we could have done, really, wouldn't it, with Evans and Morsey out? Yeah, I'm up for it. I think it's going to be a good game, but I'm confident. Yeah, obviously, we've got such a better squad now compared to the last couple of seasons. There's no real concerns, so. Yeah, it was good.
Okay. You see in the chat, the occasional comment of like, good lineup tonight, good lineup today, good lineup. We've got a good squad, as you said. It should be a good. We've got whatever permutation you want to put together should always be a decent squad, decent team, decent 1 to 11 in League One. This is your team. Neil, be paying attention to the team because I will ask you for your thoughts on it when I bring you in just a second. But we've got Walton, Dynastian, who is the captain this evening. Wolfenden, Edmondson, Burns, Ball and Humphreys, who are midfield too. Davis, Chaplin, Edwards, and Ladapo. Let's start with the obvious for me. Dynastian is your captain, not Wolfenden, not Edmondson, not Davis, not Chaplin, not Edward. I mean, Edward probably wouldn't have been considered for the captaincy anyway. Perhaps he would have done. I don't know. But Dynastian's your captain this evening. What are your thoughts on that one first and foremost?
Yeah. Oh, good luck to the guy. I out of all of them, I would have thought it would have gone maybe to Ball. He's obviously very experienced. He's tried and tested in the championship. Lots of experience, lots of knowledge. So a bit surprised that it's Dynastian. I don't know if he's captained us before or not, or if this is his first time. Someone will probably find it.
Obviously, a senior player. I've been here, nearly as long as that shirt you're wearing, Steve. So he's a senior player within the squad.
Yeah,
not the most senior of players. I would have thought.
He's been around obviously for quite a while. I think this shirt is 5 years old. So he's been sort of maybe around the club. Obviously not always playing, but he's been there for a long time. So fair play to him. I think it's a good opportunity for him. So he has done it before. Okay, so yeah, fair play to him. I think out of all of them, because you look at some of the other guys, like Edwards, obviously Humphreys. They've not been around very long. Younger players, even Wolfies to a certain extent. Edmondson maybe would have been another shout, but JD.
I was hoping for a Jackson start and a Jackson captaincy just to blow the fisherman's mind. Personally, that's what I was hoping for, but it did not happen. Away from that, your midfield too, Ball and Humphreys. We'll talk about those, I'm sure, in a little bit more depth in just a second. But your striker is Big Freddie Ladapo this evening. What do you want to see from Big Fred? I'll ask you, then I'll ask Neil when I bring him in just a second. What do you want to see from Big Fred this evening? Obviously a goal, but what else? Because on was it Tuesday? No, Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Good grief, the days are starting to blur into one. It's that half-term malaise of what the hell's going on. But the last time he featured, Friday night, there it was, Friday night. Fans were questioning several things about Big Fred. So what do you want to see from him tonight?
Yeah, I think some people have questioned his work rate. He looked a little bit tired, like he didn't really want to run for the balls. I want to see some good work rate from him. Obviously, as a striker, I want to see goals. It'd be nice to see him get 1 or 2 tonight. That's obviously a given. I just want to see him work. I want to see him show that he wants to be here and that he wants to be starting games and that he deserves the chances he's given. So I think that's first and foremost, really.
Okay, I love that. Chris says Ladapo braced this evening. Lloyd asks, is Eddie Harrison playing for Val? Yes, he is, Lloyd. Norman wants Ladapo to run, not jog lazily. Mike, I want to see some work ethic from Ladapo and a goal. Neil, you've been, a bit of a critic of Big Freddie. He starts up top tonight. What do you want to see from the striker?
I'd quite like him to imitate a top quality striker.
Well, Eddie Harrison, obviously a player we had on here in the Championship days, got 7 goals. He's Port Vale's leading marksman. For me, I don't want him to look worse than Eddie Harrison.
100%. To be fair, anything better than the last time I saw him would be a positive.
And what did you think of the last time you saw him? Because many fans...
Pretty much everything that's been mentioned just is... whether he is or not, maybe it's just his style, but he doesn't look like he puts the effort in. I know we were told by his previous club fans that is how he is, and I guess that's what we'll have to put up with. But I suppose if he was putting the ball in the back of the net every 5 seconds, we would let him get away with it.
We spoke to Alan Val podcaster Johnny on last night's show, Neil, where he said we are a strong physical team. We play direct. The pitch isn't great. Do you think Ipswich tonight have got to find a way to win? Perhaps it's different to how they've won any other week so far in this campaign, where you perhaps going to have to go a little bit more longer, going to have to go a little bit more direct to Big Fred?
I'm not sure that's going to be the case, to be honest. I'd be really surprised. I just believe we'll end up doing the same as we normally do, play the ball around and try and play our game.
Mm-hmm. I don't think you'll be able to do that, Steve, because that pitch is sandy, it's bobbly, it's not the greatest. Those are the words from Johnny, from Alan Val, the Port Val season ticket holder. This is going to be a night tonight where I do think we're going to have to play a different way. I do think it, Steve.
It's going to be a struggle, isn't it? Because Port Vale are used to that pitch, used to those conditions. Obviously, we're not. Much better pitch at Portman Road. We've played on poor pitches in the past. We've been in League One for a long time now. We've gone to clubs where the pitches look more like the Somme than an actual football pitch. So, I'm sure they'll adapt, as required. But yeah, it might be a little bit trickier, maybe for the first portion of the game, trying to get used to it and the playing conditions of the pitch. But yeah, I'm sure we've got the guys who'll pull through and do a good job.
So Ladapo at the top, obviously, may be asked to hold the ball up. Harp says very tough attack game, or however we are overdue giving the team a hiding. Would be nice if we got off to a flyer. And I did say Ellie Harrison, by the way. I didn't say Eddie. But I can call him Eddie Harrison. But I did say Ellie. I'm 99% sure of it. Without watching it back, I wouldn't say 100%. But I'm fairly sure I said Ellie. I just call him Harrison from now on, I think. Edwards out wide on the left, Mr. Moles. Obviously with Big Freddie at the top, holding that ball up. Could be a good night for Carl Edwards if he can get in and around Ladapo's feet.
Let's just hope he doesn't go over in the box, or he might see another red.
Well, he was fouled, but that is what he brings to the party, isn't it, Neil? Where that trick, that directness.
I was just jesting. It's just poor refereeing. No, he should be good, and yeah, that's what I want to see more from him. He looked like he was having a positive influence that last match he was in.
It's a lot of pace to contend with if you're Port Vale, Steve. You got Burns on one side, Edwards on the other. You know, that's tricky because it's almost a pick your poison type affair, really.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, this is why I love this team, because there's so much strength. Burns quick. You know, obviously we've got Jackson on the bench as well. Bring him on later on for a bit of pace if they've got some tired defenders. So it's a win-win, you know, in terms of the fitness of the squad, the athleticism of the squad. Maybe not with the finishing of the squad with some of them, but yeah, it's got to be a nightmare for the opposition, isn't it? Edwards is a very tricky player. So is Burns. So yeah, it's good. Chaplin as well. There's not any person where you think is going to let you down a bit, really. But yeah, great to see Chaplin starting again as well. Famous
last words there, Steve. I'm getting lots of pelters in the chat, although I'm getting some good name suggestions. I've got, I said George Harrison. Did I say Audley Harrison? I'm going to don't keep putting strange names into my head, guys. It's not easy. Me and names at the best of times. As somebody unhelpfully said in the chat, I'm a bit like Trigger from Only Fools and Horses with names. All right, Dave. But yeah, Connor Chaplin back in the lineup. Didn't play at all on Friday. Top goal scorer, Neil. Marcus Harness drops to the bench alongside Kamara. But Chaplin, this could be a good game for him as well. He's got a. Is this where the benefit of a Hughes sort of squad play pays itself off? You get left out, rested, dropped, whatever terminology you want to put to it, and then immediately when you put back in, you want to show why you should have played live on Sky, why you should be playing next week. It's competition throughout the team, right?
Yeah, very much so. I think that's only benefits the squad really by having to show your utmost once you're in the team. I'm not solely convinced on him. I know many people think he's brilliant. I think he's a tidy player, and he seems to manage to get us a few goals. So he is. So I guess I can't complain too much. But yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more from him.
You okay? You want? Well, yeah, I'd love to see more from him as well. I'd like double goals, double tally goals by now. But is Chaplin being top goal scorer, Steve, more of a symptom of no striker stepping forward yet?
Yeah, I think it is, isn't it? Because none of them have really set the league alight, set the world alight, so far this season. No, it's going to be two, I think. It's Chaplin and Burns, isn't it? Those are the two that you sort of maybe think are going to get you more goals than anyone else. I'd love to see Ladapo start banging them in. I'd love to see Jackson start doing that, but he's been here long enough now. John Jules, I want to see John Jules getting a good few, but I think we do need another striker in January. Your top scorer should be a forward. It should be a striker because it's natural.
Many will argue, though, Steve, that the formation doesn't quite lend itself to that player being a striker stepping forward. Well, obviously, away from home, Port Vale. Can we do it on a wet night in Stoke? Steve, Humphreys and Ball, not Morsey and Evans. How much does tonight's result, 3 points, rest on their two shoulders in that midfield, making things work, making it tick, making it drive, making town drive?
I think they'll be okay. There's obviously a lot of responsibility. Evans and Morsey are a well-oiled machine.
For sure, yeah.
And they're going to be heavily missed. Hopefully Evans isn't out for too long. Obviously Morsey will be back soon, but I don't know if we know how long Evans is going to be out for. But Ball, I'm confident with Ball. Humphreys looks like a good young player as well. He's obviously played a fair few times now. I think they'll be okay. I think they'll work well together. So I'm not worried. I'm not concerned. I'm confident with those two.
You're not worried. You're not concerned, Neil. Do you share those sentiments? Because obviously, I've often said you're only as good as the engine room of your team. That engine room is your centre of midfield, and it's a big ask for any player, regardless of how good or not you think they are, to go away from home. And as Steve just said, Morsey and Evans are a tried and tested formula throughout many of their careers. They spent time together. getting that partnership. This is a brand new partnership. It's Humphreys stepping into the void of Evans. There's a lot resting on it, I would say. How do you feel with Steve, or how do you see it?
I agree with what you said with the engine room being the main bit, which we'll have to concentrate on and hope they put in a good performance. We're lucky that they've had times together already this season in the cup, so it's a little bit tried and tested. I felt a few times this season that Evans could potentially be dropped, but it's turned out to both him and Morsey are just done really well. So
who would you have dropped him for? Just I mean, would it have been Ball or Humphreys?
Well, yeah, we were calling for saying Ball had some really good performances. So is it his time to step in? And you just wonder if either of these two, pick up the baton now, whether he'll then have to force his way back. We'll have to see.
Well, yeah, I mean, no player. My philosophy is no player should lose their place by injury, but that isn't everyone's philosophy, and that isn't always how football works. Careers are made off the back of injuries, and
sometimes it makes an easier decision for you.
It does, yeah. I would, yes. You can open the door to that change that perhaps you wanted to, didn't want to, whatever it might be. But it gives opportunity for somebody else to step into it, to take it by the horns. And last time I think I read it. Don't quote me. Evans was going to have a scan. I think I saw that. If not, I'm way wrong, and I do apologise. But if that's the case, then obviously we don't know the timeline for his return.
No.
So
let's hope it's speedy.
Well, let's hope it is speedy, but a good opportunity for Disco Dom or Humphreys, who is absolutely more than capable. I completely agree with the chat. He's got some ability on him, but there's ability, then there's stepping up in front of the lights, away from home. In what matters to, you mentioned the Papa Johns there, Neil. That's not really competitive, I would say, compared to a league game, certainly.
No, we'll find out now. Well, tonight, won't we?
Absolutely. Then what you're going to find out is when the bullets start flying for real. Woody says, I reckon with a default midfield tonight, we'll freshen the dynamic, and with Chaplin fresh and Jackson potentially on as an impact sub, he's going 2-0. Humphreys to step in and steal Evans' space, says Mike. I think it would be Disco Dom that would play longer term, don't you, Steve? Or do you think Humphreys is, obviously all things considered, 10 out of 10 tonight, of course, but do you think it's Disco Dom or Cameron or Humphreys long term?
I think if you're looking at it on paper, looking at sort of experience and that sort of thing, it would be Ball. But it depends. If Humphreys puts in an absolute banger tonight and does get a 10 out of 10, then
everyone's a winner.
Everyone's a winner. You can't really lose, because if you've got Ball, in place long term, then that's fantastic. He's a great player anyway, and so is Humphreys. So you really can't lose on this one.
Chris says, "Be nice to have it wrapped up by half time. We've developed a habit of taking over an hour to break teams down." Yeah, hey, just get it done this evening is how I'm sort of viewing it. Get it done, and Wednesday play tomorrow night. So a result tonight, obviously, will put a little bit of pressure on them. Plymouth play it this evening. It's a 7:45 kickoff, 10 minutes to kick off. We'll be running the shop very shortly. Before we come to bold predictions, where I ask you to give me your boldest prediction of the game score-wise. Who's your expected man of the match? Who do you think we should be sitting here talking about on the full-time show for all the right reasons? Steve?
Chaplin.
Okay, why?
I think he's going to get a couple of goals tonight, I reckon. I think he's going to be, he's going to put in a lot of work. He always seems to anyway. A lot of running. I think he'll, a couple of goals, he'll put in a solid performance.
Okay, so Steve wants to be sat here on the full-time show talking about how good Connor Chaplin was. He's player of the match. Neil, who do you expect to be sitting here, full-time show, raving about?
I don't know, really. Burns could put in a good performance. We could be talking about Edwards. We could be talking about either of the two in the midfield. So any of those four, to be honest, then
Pick one.
I'm going to go Edwards.
You're going to go Edwards? Oh, yeah. I like it. I thought you were going to go. When you mentioned Burns first, that's where I thought you were going to go. Edwards. Okay.
Yeah, it's too safe.
Yeah, but these are the games when you're carrying a young player in the centre of midfield. When you're up against a dominant not a dominant side, excuse me, a physical side on a bad pitch that we've been told. I've not seen the pitch myself. These are the games you need those players. Your Wesley Burnses, your Connor Chaplins, your senior characters to step forward and take over the mantle. We didn't see that enough last year, did we? That's one of the reasons why we finished outside the top 6, because it came to games, big games or these type of games, and the big characters didn't step forward enough last year, Neil. That was a big issue.
I think that's been an issue for a few seasons now.
So when you mention those names, I should be talking about Wesley Burns, Carl Edwards, Connor Chapman. But you never know. Football's a funny old game. Do you expect famous last words? Do you expect 3 points this evening, Steve?
I do. Yeah,
I like it. Confident.
It may sound a bit cocky now, but this is the sort of game where you would expect 3 points. But we've had those sort of games before, so
I like it. You didn't hesitate. You didn't hesitate once. You just boom, straight in there. Neil, do you expect the 3 points?
Anything less is just not good enough.
Love it. Norman, please be a forward player, not one of our defenders. Paul P. Edwards, hopefully. Eric wants Edwards as well. Lloyd says 3 points is a must. Work for Lutterworth says, who's the subs? The subs are, bear with me, they are Aladki, Burgess, Keogh. So Burgess back on the bench, great to see. Keogh, Kamara, Marcus Harness, Caden Jackson, and Tyrese John Jules. So wear them down, Big Fred, and then we'll bring on the pace to finish them off. Hopefully, we never know. We're back at full time for the full-time fans react show, where you guys and girls come on the show, have your say, live chat, live link. I've got hopefully going to be celebrating 3 points. But what is your bold score prediction, Mr. Thompson? What do you think it's going to be this evening? Be bold, be brave.
I'm going to go 3-0 Town. It's 2 goals from Chaplin and 1 from Edwards.
Love it. Steve thinks Chaplin for player of the match and a 3-0 win. Neil thinks Carl Edwards player of the match, and he thinks what the score will be.
I was thinking, how can I outdo 3-0? Let's go 4-1 then.
4-1. Who scores first?
Us.
You see, that's nice, but there's nothing better than coming back from a 1-0 deficit.
Yeah, but you think if you're doing the talk of a poor pitch and battling a match out and we go one behind, you know what that's going to end up like.
That's true. I mean, I mentioned the poor pitch. It's what I've been told by the Alan Val podcast, Johnny, on last night's show. I could put on my iPhone in 30 seconds' time.
It looks like Wembley.
And see a carpet. See a fucking great carpet and think, what on earth was Johnny talking about? Because clearly it wasn't Port Val's pitch. I don't know. That's the risk you take when you've not yet seen it yourself with your own 2 eyes. So Neil 4-1, Steve 3-0. We've got 2-5 from John B. Thank you, John. 5-0 says Mike D. That would be some evening, particularly with your captain missing. 2-1 says Lee. I tell you what, if it is a 5-0 or a 5-2 or a 4-1 or a 3-0, I do want my strikers a part of those goal scoring places, Steve. Get Ladapo or Jackson or both up and running. Get the confidence flowing through their veins.
If you got 4 or 5 goals, at least one of those has got to come from a striker, surely. It can't all be wingers, midfielders, defenders.
Hang on,
one of them's got to be a striker.
Well, you could argue, Neil, we've got 5 defenders on the pitch. So 5-0, Davis, Donatian, Wolfenden, Edmondson.
A JD goal. I would love to see it, because he's not scored for us yet, has he, since he's been in? I'd love to see a JD goal.
Get up for the corners.
To be fair, some of the greatest right-backs, even some of the not great right-backs, have scored goals. That's that's an interesting one. I don't know if he has. You're right. Mike D says, dig a trench around the goal if it's a beach. 3-0 says Graham. 7-2. Lloyd's gone bold. He's gone brave.
I think that's to us and not Port Vale, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, you never know. Right, back at full time. This has been your pre-game show. Hit the like button, subscribe, become a YouTube member today. Hit the join button on YouTube. Here's the official owner, Stephen Thompson. He is Mr. Positivity, Neil Moles, but will he be positive come full time? Only time will tell. Up a 10!